Welcome to So Very Easy. My name is Laura, and today I want to make a very simple house coat. But the simple house coat is going to be made with beautiful, lush fabric. Now, this fabric is from Riley Blake. It is called Double Lush Velvet. It has the same velvet texture where you have that softness going in one direction. However, it is not a velvet. It is very soft. It is very flowy. It is very luxurious, and it's two-sided. It also doesn't fray. So here's the fabric that I am talking about. They are calling it a double lush velvet. Double because it is two-sided. The velvet part comes, I think, from this texture. So when you smooth your hand along it, it is soft like silk. It is that lovely texture of velvet. So if you're going in the opposite direction, you can feel that that velvet is going opposite. So for velvet fabric, it's important that we keep all of those fibers going in the same direction when we are sewing with it. So this is the house coat that I'm going to make. This is a very simple pattern. The sleeves and the front are all built together. The sleeves and the back are all built together. So it sews together really quickly. It is a very easy pattern to follow, and it's a very comfortable pattern. So here's the front of the pattern. The sleeves are attached. The back is very similar. It's that one piece with the sleeves. And we get to put this on the fold of the fabric, so we are only working with 3 big pieces of fabric. Now, there are often times we're going to be able to take this pattern and overlap it to save us some fabric. But in this case, with this fabric, we cannot, because it does have that grain line going all in the same direction. If you were to do it this way, the front would feel beautiful in one direction, but then it's going in the wrong direction in the back. So it's important that we buy enough fabric that we're going to be able to do both pieces so they're all going in the same direction. So the softness of the fabric is going towards the bottom of the garment. From there, we're going to be able to pin them on and cut them like we would normally. So the back is going to sit on that fold, and we're going to be able to cut it out. This also has pockets, so I'm going to be able to cut out the pockets. We are going to need pieces for around the cuff, a nice long piece to make the belt, and a neckband. Because this fabric does not fray, we could just do it on a regular sewing machine, and if you wanted to, you could finish the edges. I'm going to be doing this on my serger. So let me get the rest of this cut out, and then I'm going to show you how I like to put this together. Everything is cut out the way the directions have us do it. And when we do start, they're telling us to sew those shoulder seams first. I like to work on my pockets first. So I'm going to take my pockets, and I'm going to be able to follow my notches and pin my pockets right onto my fabric, right while the paper is here. With the pockets, I have a choice now. I can have the pockets, so when I go to put my hand in, I'm going to see the same fabric as the front, or I get to see the fabric along the back. So without moving a lot of that paper, I pin those pockets on. The less movement, the better before pinning. Now I can take that tissue off. Both of my pockets are lined up this way, and everything stays nice. I can now go to the machine and do that row of stitching to hold that pocket down. I've stitched my pocket on with a 5/8 seam allowance. Now in my case, I am going to have that pocket, so we get to see that inside. I do want to clean off this edge of the pocket, and I'm going to do that on my serger. So I'm going to take my scissors and snip right to the edge of that pocket on both sides. So it's right there at the edge of the pocket. Now I'm going to be able to go to my serger, fold that seam out of the way, and stitch this edge. Once that row has been stitched, I'm going to be able to press towards the pocket and do a row of top stitch. Now I'm going to be able to match those right sides together and continue stitching. Now I'm going to be doing one more stitch on my domestic machine, and then the rest I'm going to do completely at the serger. And it's only going to be a little stitch. I will be sewing those pieces together, but I'm only going to be stitching here and here. So that little V of stitching is right here. What that does is it helps me line my pocket up perfectly, and it gives me a chance to do a little trim. So this is my 5/8 seam allowance, and I'm going to trim to this corner on a diagonal. So I'm going to be trimming in this angle. So I'm coming out like that. So I'm just going to put a little snip, and now I'm going to be able to go to the serger. The pattern has us pressing those seams to each side, but if we're serging them together, they need to be only on one side. And this is going to really help do that. So now we're going to be able to just go right to the serger, stitch here. We're going to be able to pull that apart, continue stitching, pull that apart, and continue stitching. So this is what it's going to look like. And you can see that stitching right there. So now we have those pockets on. I'm going to stitch all the way around and on each side. So here is that side done. The pocket is inside, and we can see the reverse of that fabric poking inside that pocket. Now we're going to work on the sleeves and that front band, and they're both done the same way. This sleeve is going to have a cuff, or they're calling it a sleeve band. Now if you want that back side of the fabric showing, we can do it that way, or you can have the same fabric showing. For this one, I am going to have this lining showing to match my pockets and my band. Match up the right sides and stitch down. So I now have a round tube, enclose that raw edge. So I'm going to match up those edges and stitch all the way around. And when it's all stitched, this is what it's going to look like. And having a serge stitch really means the seams have a nice finish. I now need to do the front band. We're going to do it the same way. We're going to match a back seam stitch, match a bottom stitch, and then flip it out. And we're going to have one long piece. So once we have turned that long piece right side out, we're going to be able to stitch it from one side all the way to the other side. However, we do need to put the hem into consideration. The directions have us do the hem first, put it up 1.25 inches, match and stitch. So those edges are going to go together. I like to do my hem last, but I still want to leave that 1.25 inches. So I'm going to measure 1.25 inches, and that is where my band is going to stop and start. So I'm going to start stitching my band there, go all the way around, and do the same thing to this side. Once the entire band has been stitched on, then I will do this little hem. I'm going to fold over that little seam allowance, have it cover that little bit of the seam, and now stitch the hem down all the way around. For myself, this is the way I like my bottom to look. If you did it the other way and stitched that hem down first, you would have this at the bottom, which is still all right. I just think that has a nicer look. So once the hem is stitched, the housecoat is done, all except the sash. We're going to sew that sash together. So we have one long piece, so both sides together, leave an opening, and let's turn that right side out. And the last thing we need to do is just close off that opening, give our sash a press, and we're done. So this was Butterick pattern 6428. So with this pattern, There were a few things that I changed in the direction of putting it together, and that simplified the construction so I could do it on my serger. What I like about this pattern is those sleeves are attached right onto the front and the back, so you have no seams along this area. And being able to use that double luxe velvet meant I was able to use both sides of it. So I do have the nice accenting pieces. It does have good stretch to it, so it's going to be comfortable to wear. It is super soft. This pattern is a really good pattern if you were a beginner or someone who just wants to have a quick, fun project. But then again, we could make the entire wardrobe in this, and it would be a lot of fun. This fabric is made by Riley Blake, which does do beautiful quilting cotton. So chances are you are going to be able to find this in your local quilt shop. And the patterns match quilting cotton. Just think of the possibilities. Thank you for joining me today on So Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I have a newsletter. It's all free under So Very Easy. And be sure to make every day a very soft and so-tacular day. Bye for now.